Dr. Olivia Wright rubbed her tired eyes as the computer screen filled with another set of unusual readings. The clock on the wall of the Arecibo Observatory showed 3:27 a.m., but she couldn't sleep. Not with these signals coming in. For the past 6 weeks, her instruments had detected strange atmospheric disturbances that made no sense. Ripples in Earth's magnetic field that shouldn't be there. Radio bursts that followed patterns too regular to be natural. Still at it, Liv. Sam Wilson, her research assistant, placed a fresh cup of coffee beside her keyboard. His face showed the same mix of worry and excitement that had kept the small team working around the clock. "These patterns keep repeating," she said, pointing to a sequence on the monitor. "Every 12 hours like clockwork. That's not random space noise." Sam leaned closer. "Have you told anyone else?" "I tried." Olivia took a sip of coffee and grimaced at its bitterness. "Called NASA last week, then the Air Force. Even tried my old professor at MIT. They all said the same thing." "Let me guess. Solar flares? Satellite? Interference?" "Exactly. Nobody wants to be the one to cry alien." She pulled up another screen showing a star chart. "But whatever this is, it's getting closer." 3 days later, Olivia's warnings became impossible to ignore. The morning sky turned an eerie purple as massive clouds swirled above major cities worldwide. Cell phones stopped working, power grids flickered, and on every TV channel that still functioned, the same message played: "We come in friendship, at we." Andrews Air Force Base outside Washington, D.C., Commander Alan Murphy stood on the tarmac as government officials rushed past him toward waiting helicopters. After 15 years training for first contact scenarios, the real thing was happening, and nobody was following the protocols he'd helped write. "Commander." A young lieutenant ran up, breathing hard. "You're wanted in the war room, sir." "Right, now." The underground command center buzzed with frantic activity. Screens showed satellite images of an object in Earth orbit, an object that hadn't been there yesterday. Nearly a mile long, it hovered over the North Atlantic, defying all known laws of physics. "Murphy." General Frank Harris motioned him over. "What do you make of this?" Alan studied the images. The object was smooth, oval-shaped, with a surface that seemed to ripple like water. "It's not broadcasting any hostile signals. No signs of weapons deployment." "So you're saying we shouldn't nuke it?" The general's attempt at humor fell flat. "With respect, sir, that would be a terrible first move," Alan replied. "They clearly have technology centuries beyond ours. If they wanted to attack, they could have done it already." "The president agrees with you. We're attempting communication now." 24 hours later, Alan found himself in an unprecedented position, preparing to meet the first confirmed extraterrestrial delegation at a hastily arranged welcome site in a Nebraska cornfield. The location had been chosen by the visitors themselves. As the sun rose over the flat landscape, a beam of light shot down from the clouds. When it faded, 7 figures stood in a perfect circle where corn stalks had been flattened by their arrival. Alan stepped forward as instructed, heart pounding. The tallest of the visitors approached him. It, or perhaps they, looked almost human, except for skin that shifted colors like oil on water, currently glowing a calm blue. The being stood about 7 feet tall, with a slender build and large almond-shaped eyes that contained no whites, only swirling patterns of gold. "I greet you on behalf of Earth," Alan said, following the script prepared by a team of linguists and diplomats. The being smiled, revealing teeth too perfect to be natural. "And I greet you on behalf of the Volari Cooperative." The voice was neither male nor female, but musical and clear. "My people come seeking friendship with yours." The being spoke perfect English with no accent, which should have been impossible. Later that day at the United Nations in New York, the leader of the Volari delegation, who called themselves the Emissary, addressed representatives from every nation. "We have watched your world for some time," the emissary said, skin shifting to a warm golden hue. "Your broadcasts reached our listening posts decades ago. We come now because we believe you are ready for greater knowledge." The Volari explained that they came from a star system 80 light-years from Earth. Their sun had become unstable, forcing them to seek new homes. They offered medical technology that could cure cancer, clean energy systems, and faster-than-light travel in exchange for a place to settle a small population of their people. World leaders rushed to accept. News channels called it humanity's luckiest day. Markets soared. Religious leaders debated what it meant for their faiths. Only Olivia Wright, watching the broadcast from her small apartment near the observatory, felt a chill run down her spine. "Their arrival date is wrong," she whispered to herself, checking her data again. The atmospheric disturbances had begun nearly 3 months before the Volari claimed to have reached Earth. And there was something else. The star system they named as their home didn't match any known cataloged star that could support life. 2 weeks after first contact, work began on a Volari compound in the Nevada desert. Commander Murphy was assigned as the military liaison to the visitors. At the same time, Olivia received an unexpected job offer to join a new scientific exchange program with the aliens. When Alan and Olivia met at the orientation session for new human staff at the compound, neither knew the other had been harboring doubts. "Dr. Wright," Alan said, shaking her hand. "Your reputation precedes you. Your paper on exoplanetary atmospheres was excellent." Olivia studied his face. "Commander Murphy, I didn't expect military presence in a scientific program, just ensuring smooth operations," he replied with a practiced smile. "The Volari requested me personally." Later, as they toured the impressive facilities being built with impossible speed, Olivia pulled Alan aside. "The star they claim to come from, BD +20 2465, it's a red dwarf. No habitable zone where liquid water could exist," she whispered. Alan's expression didn't change, but he gripped her elbow slightly tighter. "Be careful what questions you ask, Doctor. We're making history here." That evening, as Olivia unpacked, in her new quarters she found a handwritten note slipped under her door. It contained just 3 words in blocky handwriting. "You are right." 6 months into what the media called the friendship era, Olivia had set up a network of private sensors around the compound. The data they collected made her blood run cold. Energy pulses aimed at Earth's core, signals sent to locations that weren't on any star chart the Volari had shared. The night she detected the largest energy spike yet, observatories in Chile, South Africa, and Japan suddenly went offline. Their official explanation: equipment failure. Olivia knew better. They had seen something they weren't supposed to see, and now, so had she. The Volari miracle drug saves another life. Olivia tossed the newspaper onto her desk with a sigh. 1 year after the aliens' arrival, their faces were everywhere, on TV shows, magazine covers, even children's lunchboxes. A Volari-themed movie was breaking box office records worldwide. Their medical technology had already cured thousands of cancer patients. Their clean energy systems had replaced coal plants in 12 countries. The world loved them. But Olivia's private sensors continued to collect troubling data. Her tiny office at the Nevada compound had become the center of a secret network. She checked to make sure her signal blocker was active before opening her encrypted messaging app. "Any news from Argentina?" she typed. Gregory Patel, a quantum physicist who had once laughed at her concerns, replied immediately. "Confirmed. Same particle pattern as Colorado and South Africa. Something is weakening the magnetic field." Olivia felt her stomach tighten. 3 locations now showed the same problem. She pulled up the world map on her wall where red pins marked each affected site. When connected, they formed a perfect triangle around the globe. Too perfect to be natural. A knock at her door made her quickly cover the map with a star chart. "Come in," Sam Wilson entered, looking over his shoulder before closing the door. Once her research assistant, he now worked directly with the Volari on their atmospheric improvement project. "They asked about you again," he whispered. "The emissary wanted to know why you haven't joined the main research team." "What did you tell them? That you're shy and prefer working alone?" Sam handed her a small flash drive. "I copied these files from their central database. Had to wait until the lab was empty." Later that night, reviewing Sam's stolen data, Olivia found strange references to Phase 2 scheduled to begin in 3 months. The files contained complex formulas she didn't understand, but one thing was clear. They involved Earth's core. She sent the formulas to Dr. Susan Rodriguez, a behavioral psychologist who had originally studied how humans reacted to the aliens. Susan had recently noticed something even more disturbing: subtle changes in human brain activity near Volari technology. "These aren't energy formulas," Susan replied after examining the data. "They look more like brainwave patterns, very similar to what I'm seeing in humans who spend time near their devices." Across the compound in his private quarters, Commander Alan Murphy struggled with his own doubts. As the military liaison to the Volari, he attended all high-level meetings between the aliens and government officials. Today's meeting had left him feeling uneasy. When a general asked about Volari defense systems, the emissary's skin had briefly flashed orange, the only time Alan had seen that particular color. The alien had quickly changed the subject, offering, instead, to demonstrate their new food production technology. Alan opened his personal notebook, where he had started recording these small but odd reactions. Questions about their home planet caused blue ripples on their skin. Questions about how long they planned to stay on Earth triggered green pulses. And any time someone asked to visit their main ship, still orbiting Earth, their skin would dim to a flat gray. They were hiding something. But whenever Alan reported his concerns to his superiors, they reminded him of the lives being saved by Volari medicine, the wars prevented by their diplomatic help, the hunger ended by their farming technology. "Don't rock the boat, Murphy," General Harris had told him yesterday. "For the first time in history, things are actually getting better on this planet." But that night, Alan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the new construction project in the center of the compound, a massive circular structure the Volari claimed would be a cultural center, but required unusual materials and was being built in strict secrecy. The next morning, Alan was reviewing security footage when something caught his eye. 2 scientists from Olivia's department were leaving the facility with Volari guards. The scientists looked nervous. They never returned to the compound. 2 days later, he saw the same scientists on TV, praising the Volari's latest technology. But something was wrong with their eyes, a flatness, an emptiness that hadn't been there before. Alan finally decided it was time to contact Dr. Wright. They met at a small diner 50 miles from the compound. Both left their phones and all electronic devices behind, driving separate routes to avoid being tracked. "2 of your colleagues disappeared this week," Alan said after they ordered coffee. Olivia nodded. "Karen and Bill, they were helping me monitor energy fluctuations. Now they're giving interviews about how wonderful everything is." "Something happened to them," Alan said quietly. "Their eyes, I know. Susan calls it the Volari effect. She's seeing it in more people who work closely with them." Alan glanced around to make sure no one was listening, then slid a folder across the table. "I took these yesterday. Security cameras were mysteriously offline for 3 hours. Olivia opened the folder and gasped. The photos showed the interior of the cultural center under construction. Instead of a gathering space, the images revealed what looked like massive energy conductors pointing skyward, connected to deep shafts leading into the ground. "They're building something," Alan whispered. "Something they didn't include in any of the technology sharing agreements." "It matches the energy pattern my sensors detected," Olivia said, her voice shaking. "They're creating some kind of network around the planet." That night, Olivia stayed late in her lab analyzing Alan's photographs. The compound was quiet, most workers having gone home. When she heard a soft knock, she quickly hid the photos. To her surprise, a Volari stood in her doorway. Unlike the others who always traveled in groups, this one was alone. His skin was a muted blue that didn't shift or change as he moved. "Dr. Wright," he said softly. "My name is Zivon. I have been observing you. You see more than the others." Olivia's heart raced. "What do you want?" "To help." The alien closed the door and approached her desk. "Not all of us agree with the emissary's plans." "What plans?" she asked. though she already feared the answer. Your people sent warnings into space for decades, Zevon said, his voice barely above a whisper. Messages about your nuclear capabilities, your biological makeup, your planetary resources. My people should have heeded the warnings. What warnings? Olivia asked, confused. That humans will fight for their home, no matter the technological disadvantage. Zevon's eyes seemed to hold genuine sadness. The signals you sent to the stars were meant to announce your presence, but to my leaders, they revealed a prize. Before he could explain further, Zevon suddenly stiffened. His skin flashed bright red, a color Olivia had never seen on any Valari before. He clutched his head in pain, gasped something in his native language, and fled into the night. Zevon's words haunted Olivia for days. What warnings had Earth sent? And why had the Valari scientist risked speaking to her? She dug through archives of messages humans had broadcast into space over the decades. The Arecibo message, the Pioneer plaques, the Voyager golden records. These had included basic mathematics, human biology, Earth's position in the solar system, and samples of music and greetings in multiple languages. None seemed like warnings. But then Olivia realized it wasn't just the intentional messages that mattered. For over a century, human radio and television signals had leaked into space. Military radar, satellite communications, nuclear tests, all these had sent unintentional signals about humanity's capabilities and nature. We've been broadcasting our strengths and weaknesses without realizing it, she told Gregory during their weekly secure call. Like putting up a sign that lists both your security systems and the times when they're turned off. Gregory's voice crackled through the encrypted line. I've found something else. The particles affecting our magnetic field? They're not natural. They're engineered to weaken specific layers of Earth's defenses. Olivia felt cold fear spread through her chest. How long until there's permanent damage? At the current rate? 3 months, maybe less. Meanwhile, Alan Murphy was conducting his own investigation. The disappearance of the 2 scientists bothered him more than he could explain to his superiors. Using his security clearance, he accessed personnel records for everyone who had worked closely with the Valari. A pattern emerged. 23 people had been reassigned in the past 6 months. All had worked in departments studying Valari technology. All had been replaced by new personnel who spoke enthusiastically about alien cooperation. When Alan tried to contact these reassigned individuals, he hit roadblocks, new phone numbers. That didn't connect. Home addresses that turned out to be empty apartments. Family members who seemed nervous when questioned. He decided to take his concerns to General Irene Foster, the one superior he still trusted. They met in a secure room at the Pentagon that was regularly swept for listening devices. I believe personnel are being replaced, Alan explained, spreading his evidence on the table. Or worse, somehow altered. The general studied his documents, with a grim expression. You're not the only one with concerns, Commander. We've been watching them since day one. You have? Alan was shocked. The official policy had always been complete cooperation. We're not naive, she replied. We're letting them think we trust them completely while watching their every move. And what have you discovered? Alan pressed. General Foster opened a classified folder. The scientists who disappeared weren't recruited, they were taken. Our team found unusual energy readings in their brain scans afterward. And there's more. She showed him satellite images of 12 locations around the globe where the Valari had established smaller outposts. They're building something big, something connected. They're not refugees, Alan realized. No, she agreed. They're advanced scouts. On the other side of the country, Olivia had enlisted the help of linguist Peter Martinez to translate more of the Valari language. They had been recording Valari conversations secretly for months, building a basic understanding of their complex speech patterns. This symbol keeps appearing in their communications, Peter said, pointing to a spiral shape on his computer screen. At first I thought it meant home or planet, but now I think it translates more closely to harvest or extraction. Working through the night, they decoded more fragments. references to cycle completion and core penetration. Most disturbing was a countdown, already in progress, counting toward an event called the Great Opening. When Olivia and Peter cross-referenced the date with the energy readings from Gregory's research, they matched perfectly. The Great Opening would occur exactly when Earth's magnetic field would be at its weakest point. The next day, Olivia received an urgent message from Alan requesting a meeting. This time they met in an old hunting cabin in the mountains far from any technology. "We need to combine what we know," Alan said without greeting. "The situation is worse than I thought." For hours they shared their discoveries. Alan revealed the military suspicions and the pattern of disappeared personnel. Olivia explained the effects on Earth's magnetic field and the translated communications. "There's something else," she added, pulling out a small device. "I've been analyzing the gifts they've given us. The medical technology, the clean energy systems, they all emit a low-frequency signal that matches brainwave patterns." "Mind control?" Alan asked. "Not exactly. More like subtle influence, making people more accepting, less questioning. The effect builds over time with exposure." Alan rubbed his face. "That explains the public's complete acceptance despite the red flags." As the pieces came together, a terrible picture emerged. The Volari weren't planning to share Earth. They intended to harvest it. The cultural centers were actually drilling sites for a massive planetary extraction operation that would pull rare minerals from Earth's core. The process would destabilize the planet's magnetic field and core, eventually rendering Earth uninhabitable. But not before the Volari had taken what they wanted. Their gifts weren't gifts at all, Olivia realized. The technology they shared, it's all monitoring equipment, analyzing our defenses, our resources, our weaknesses, and identifying which humans might resist, Alan added grimly. They calculated that the Volari plan would reach its critical phase in less than 3 months, when all 12 extraction sites would activate simultaneously, creating a network that would crack open Earth's crust like an egg. As dawn broke, Alan received an encrypted message from General Foster. The military had intercepted a transmission from the Volari mothership. New vessels were on their way, not diplomatic ships, but massive industrial craft with equipment designed for large-scale mining operations. "We need to warn everyone," Olivia said. "Go public with what we know." Alan shook his head. "The Volari control too much of our communication infrastructure now. And with their influence technology, how many people would even believe us? We need a plan first." "What kind of plan can stop a species centuries ahead of us technologically?" Olivia asked, despair creeping into her voice. "The kind that uses their own technology against them," Alan replied. "You said it yourself. Earth has been sending warnings into space for decades. Warnings about what happens when someone threatens our home. That we fight back." Olivia remembered Zevon's words. "Exactly." Alan's face hardened with resolve. "They might have better technology, but they've made one critical mistake." "What's that?" "They underestimated how far humans will go to protect our planet." He checked his watch. "We have 89 days to save Earth. Let's get to work." The mountain cabin became their war room. Maps covered the walls marked with the locations of all 12 Volari extraction sites. Laptops ran simulations of Earth's magnetic field degradation. A secure communication system built by Gregory connected them to trusted allies worldwide. "We need to disable all 12 towers simultaneously," Alan explained to the small team he and Olivia had assembled. "If even one remains active, the extraction process can still begin." Susan Rodriguez pointed to a map. "The towers in Nevada, Brazil, Russia, and China are the most heavily guarded. The others have lighter security, but they're in remote locations, the Arctic, the Sahara, the middle of the Pacific on artificial islands." "Can we alert the public?" asked Sam Wilson, who had officially gone missing 3 days ago after downloading more Volari files. "Too risky," Olivia replied. "The Volari monitor all broadcasts now, and their influence technology has affected too many people. We'd be labeled as terrorists before we could explain." Instead, they developed a plan to target each tower with small teams. Gregory had been working on a device that could disrupt the Volari energy systems, essentially a pulse weapon that could overload their technology. "We need 12 of these," he explained, showing them a prototype. "One for each tower. The problem is they have to be placed directly at the power source. Someone has to physically plant each device. And they'll have to activate it manually," Peter added. "Remote detonation would be detected and blocked." For the next week, they worked around the clock, building devices and recruiting trustworthy allies. General Foster provided unofficial military support, special forces operators who volunteered after being shown evidence of the Volari plan. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Late one night, as Olivia worked alone in the cabin, there was a soft knock at the door. She grabbed the gun Alan had insisted she keep nearby and approached cautiously. "Who is it?" she called. "Friends," came the reply in an oddly musical voice. When she opened the door, Zevon stood there, along with 5 other Volari, their skin a uniform shade of muted blue. Olivia raised her gun, hands shaking. "What do you want?" "To help," Zevon said, raising his empty hands. "We are not alone in our concerns. Others have broken free from the collective." "Free from what collective?" Olivia asked, not lowering her weapon. One of the other Volari stepped forward. "Our species operates with a shared consciousness. Individuals exist, but all are connected to the whole through a neural network. Decisions are made collectively, with the strongest minds, like the emissary, guiding the rest." "Then why are you here?" Olivia still didn't trust them. "Your individuality is contagious," Zevon explained. "Extended contact with humans has caused some of us to develop independent thought. We have begun to question the ethics of planetary harvesting." Another Volari added, "We were scientists, not soldiers. We came to study Earth, not destroy it." After Alan arrived and hours of tense questioning, they accepted that the Volari dissidents were genuine. More importantly, they offered crucial information about the extraction process. "The towers must form a complete network," Zevon explained, drawing a diagram. "All 12 create a resonance field that opens pathways to Earth's core. If even one tower fails, the field collapses." The Volari dissidents also explained why they couldn't simply destroy the towers. Each was protected by energy shields that human weapons couldn't penetrate. The only way in was through authorized access points, which the dissidents could provide. "We can get your teams inside," one of them offered. "But we cannot disable the system ourselves. The central controls recognize our biosignatures and would trigger alarms." With this new information, the plan took final shape. 12 teams would infiltrate the towers simultaneously, each led by a human operative and guided by a Volari dissident. Gregory's disruptive devices would overload the power cores, shutting down the entire network. Meanwhile, General Foster assembled an international military coalition, preparing for the possibility that the plan would fail. Fighter jets, submarines, and ground forces were placed on high alert under the guise of a global military exercise. "This is our last resort," she told Alan during a secure call. "If your teams fail, we'll strike all 12 locations simultaneously with everything we've got. It probably won't work, but we'll go down fighting." Alan would lead one final attempt at negotiation while the teams moved into position. If he could distract the emissary long enough, it might give the infiltration teams the time they needed. The day before the operation was set to begin, Olivia made final adjustments to the disruptive devices. Each was calibrated to the specific frequency of its target tower, and each required a 10-minute countdown once activated. "The person who activates it will have 10 minutes to get clear," she explained to the team leaders. "Any less time and the charge might not be strong enough. Any more and they'll detect it." At sunset, the teams departed for their assigned locations. Olivia would lead the Nevada team, targeting the main control tower. Alan prepared for his meeting with the emissary, scheduled for the following morning during a public ceremony celebrating the first anniversary of friendship. That night, no one slept well. The fate of the entire planet would be decided in less than 24 hours. At dawn, As teams took their positions around the world, disaster struck. The emissary appeared on every television channel and communications device globally, making an unexpected announcement. "Today marks a new chapter in our friendship," the Valari leader said, its skin glowing an intense gold color never seen before. "We are accelerating our plans to share our greatest gift with humanity. The friendship initiatives will commence immediately." Olivia watched in horror from her hidden position near the Nevada compound. The sky above began to shimmer and distort, like heat waves but more pronounced. Similar distortions appeared above each tower location globally, as their team members reported in. "They're starting the process early," Sivan said, his skin paling to white with fear. "They must have detected our preparations. They're tearing open your atmosphere to allow the harvester ships through." On her secure phone, Olivia received an urgent message from Alan, who was already inside the ceremony venue. "Plan compromised. Moving to confrontation now. Tell all teams to proceed immediately." Moments later, Alan's voice boomed through the ceremony's sound system as he grabbed the microphone from a startled official. "People of Earth, we've been deceived," he shouted as security forces moved toward him. "The Valari aren't here to help us. They're here to strip mine our planet." As guards tackled him to the ground, he locked eyes with the emissary, whose golden skin had turned an angry red. With the last of his strength, Alan shouted to the world and to Olivia's team, "Now or never." Chaos erupted worldwide as the sky cracked like glass. Above each extraction tower, the atmosphere split open, creating swirling vortexes of energy. Through these openings, massive Valari harvester ships began to push through, dark, angular, vessels the size of small cities. Lightning storms raged around the planet. Earthquakes shook 6 continents. Tidal waves crashed against coastlines. News channels struggled to report on the multiple disasters as panic spread globally. In Nevada, Olivia led her team toward the main extraction tower. Sivan guided them through a service tunnel that bypassed the main security systems. "The control center is 5 levels up," he whispered, his skin now a pale gray color. "But the power core is 2 levels down. That's where we need to place the device." They moved quickly through the tunnel, the ground occasionally shaking beneath their feet. Above them, the sound of tearing atmosphere was like a continuous roll of thunder. At the command center in Washington, D.C., General Foster watched satellite feeds of the disturbances with horror. The President and Joint Chiefs stood frozen as reports flooded in. Electrical grids failing, communications disrupted, aircraft falling from the sky as navigation systems failed. "Initiate Plan Omega," the President finally ordered. "All units engage." Fighter jets scrambled worldwide, targeting the extraction towers. Submarines launched missiles at the underwater Pacific facility. Special forces units that had been standing by stormed the smaller facilities, but their weapons had little effect. Energy shields surrounding each tower deflected missiles and bullets alike. The Valari had prepared for human resistance. Inside the Nevada ceremony hall, Alan Murphy fought against the security guards holding him. On stage, the emissary had dropped all pretense of friendship. "Your resistance is pointless," the alien leader announced, its skin now pulsing with angry red patterns. "The process has begun. Soon your core minerals will be harvested, and we will move on to the next world." "Why?" Alan shouted. "We welcomed you. We shared our home." The emissary's face showed something like pity. "Your planet was doomed anyway. Your climate was already collapsing. We're simply accelerating the inevitable while salvaging valuable resources." "That wasn't your decision to make," Alan replied, still struggling. "Humanity deserves the chance to save itself." With a sudden move, he broke free from one guard and grabbed a ceremonial metal rod from the stage. With all his strength, he swung it at the nearest power conduit, one of many the Valari had installed throughout human facilities. The explosion knocked everyone back. As alarms blared, Alan used the confusion to escape, heading toward the extraction tower where Olivia's team was already inside. In towers around the world, the other teams faced their own challenges. In Brazil, a security system had detected the intruders, forcing them to fight their way toward the power core. In Russia, a team was pinned down just meters from their target. The Arctic team reported success in reaching their power core, only to discover it was more heavily guarded than intelligence had suggested. Time was running out. The harvester ships were halfway through the atmospheric rifts, their massive drilling equipment becoming visible as they descended. Inside the Nevada tower, Olivia's team reached the power core, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with blue-green energy. The room hummed with power, so loud they had to shout to hear each other. The device needs to be placed directly on the primary conductor, Gregory instructed through their earpieces from his remote location. Look for the central column where all the energy lines connect. Sam pointed to a glowing pillar in the center of the room. There. But as they approached, 4 Valari security guards entered from another door. Unlike the dissidents, these Valari had skin that pulsed with aggressive red patterns. Their eyes showed no individuality, only the collective will. A firefight erupted. Sam and 2 soldiers provided covering fire, while Olivia and Zivan rushed toward the central column with the disruptive device. "We need 3 minutes to set it up," Olivia shouted over the noise of energy weapons and gunfire. Across the globe, the other teams reported similar resistance. Some had managed to place their devices. Others were still fighting to reach their targets. The Arctic and Pacific teams had gone silent entirely. In the Nevada tower, Olivia's hands worked quickly, attaching the device to the power column. Sweat dripped down her face as she connected wires and calibrated settings. Beside her, Zivan provided guidance, his knowledge of Valari technology proving invaluable. "Almost there," she said. "One more connection." A blast of energy hit the wall, near her head. One by one, their defenders were falling. Sam took a hit to his shoulder but continued firing. Above them, the sky had split completely open. The lead harvester ship now hovered directly over the Nevada facility, its drill extending downward. A massive spiral of metal and energy designed to crack Earth open like an egg. Olivia made the final connection. The device hummed to life. Its countdown beginning, 10 minutes until detonation. "It's done," she shouted. "Everyone out." But as they turned to leave, more Valari guards flooded the room. They were trapped. Outside the facility, Alan had joined with a unit of special forces. They fought their way toward the tower, but progress was slow against the superior Valari weapons. Inside the power core room, Olivia realized with growing horror that they wouldn't escape in time. "The remote detonator isn't working," she told the team. "Someone has to stay and make sure it completes the cycle." "I'll do it," Sam said immediately, clutching his wounded shoulder. "No," Zivan interrupted. "My people caused this, let me make it right." Before anyone could argue, Zivan pushed Olivia toward a small maintenance shaft. "This will lead you to the surface. Tell your people what you learned from us." "What do you mean?" Olivia asked. "That connection works both ways," Zivan explained, quickly. "Just as we affected you, you affected us. Individuality, choice, compassion. These are your species' greatest strengths." As fighting continued around them, Olivia and the surviving team members crawled into the maintenance shaft. Zivan sealed it behind them, then turned to face the approaching guards. Around the world, similar scenes played out at other towers. Some teams succeeded in placing their devices and escaping. Others made the same sacrifice Zivan was making, staying behind to ensure detonation. In the control center, the emissary suddenly sensed something wrong. "The network," it screamed. "Check the power cores." But it was too late. In Nevada, Zivan reached the central control panel of the power core. As Valari guards surrounded him, he smiled, the first truly individual expression he had ever made. "Tell your people to look to the stars with caution," he transmitted to Olivia, who was now reaching the surface. "But never stop looking." Then, he activated the device manually, starting a chain reaction throughout the entire network. The effect was immediate and catastrophic for the Valari. Energy surged through their network, but with 11 of the 12 towers disabled or disrupted, the carefully calibrated harvesting system failed catastrophically. The sky literally shattered, as the artificial rifts collapsed, taking the harvester, ships with them. Blue lightning crackled across the broken sky as the atmosphere began to heal itself. Inside the Nevada facility, the emissary and most loyal Valari activated emergency teleportation devices and vanished, presumably to their ships beyond Earth's atmosphere. The dissidents, including those who had helped humanity, remained behind, now free from the collective.